Hello, my name is Xiao. I'm the lead editor of Mariblock, an information company that is looking to, build the digital kind of information hub for blockchain and digital assets in Africa. And we, as part of that, of course, I'm speaking with Joseph from DFS Lab, and most about their recent partnership with Stellar Network, right? They just recently introduced what is called Stellar Development, or I think it's called DFS Labs Stellar Africa Fund One, right? So we want to talk about it, and then also, yeah, and also like how DFS Lab thinks about crypto generally or blockchain in Africa. Yeah. So I'll let David sorry, I'm sorry about that. Joseph introduce himself, and we'll go in from there.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. So, like you said, my name is Joseph. I partner at DFS Lab, an early stage investment firm, um, traditionally focused on investing in digital commerce startups in Africa. Um, and we've been doing that for a couple of years. We've supported, a couple of companies who have gone on to raise more funds. And like yeah, you said, we just recently started a new fund, the DFS Lab, the DFS Lab Stellar Fund, and it's also like early stage, and also looking at um, kind of really good use cases that's in a way tied to the thesis of our main fund. Like so, yeah.
I mean, you just like talked about it, the Stellar Development Fund, right? So if you could just like tell us really what is it about and what is the story behind this this DFS Labs Stellar Fund One.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. So we, I think traditionally as a firm, we've never really been um, sure about like crypto use cases in on the continent, right? It's stuff we had looked at a couple of times, but every time it's like we don't really have a strong understanding of this. We don't. At the time, we didn't have like the right partners or anything, and it's like okay, we'll just you know avoid this and focus on our main thing. Um, but I think about 2 years ago, we started working with the Stellar Foundation. And so DFS Lab, we have an investment, apart from our investment arm, we also have like a research and consulting arm, where we do like a lot of work for like a couple of clients, mostly big funds and like uh, big donor organizations and things like that, right? And companies like that. And so, um, we started doing some work with Stella, and in that process, we started having an understanding of, started getting a better sense of like crypto space. Um, Started looking at, the interesting use cases, um, and just looking at we actually had the opportunity to work with some other crypto companies like protocols and whatnot, and um, we felt like Stella stood out, right, in the amount of education, like resources put into education, um, kind of promoting use cases that had like real impact, and they're not just like just the regular Web3 stuff. And so it was interesting to see that. And as we continue to work together, it began to look like if there's anybody who will want to kind of dive into early stage with investing in crypto with, then it'll be like it'll be some organization like Stellar, um, that obviously has like a clear, some kind of clear strategy, really supportive of people building on the platform, on the protocol, um, and they had like lots of programs. They have lots of programs to encourage you know founders or like builders on the platform, and so it just looks like the right partnership, for us. And so we decided to like take it a bit further and say, what, how about we, based on our experience just investing in early stage in Africa, and understanding like the landscape, from like a lot of our research work, and our consulting work, it just like felt like, okay, we'll be the right partners, um, to work with Stella and see, um, you know, what kind of great investments you can make in the early stage. Find what kind of, find like really good founders, right? That are, trying to build something in the crypto space, or like, on the blockchain, that makes like so much, like that we can back, that know what they're doing and that we can back. And so that's how it kind of came together, right? Now Stella itself has like the Stella Community Fund, where if you have a project, or you have a crypto startup, you can apply to that, kind of present and like to the broader Stella community, and it's the community that determines how much you get and things like that. So there's the Stella Community Fund. Stella also has like a larger investment fund where they do like much bigger investments, and so for us, we see ourselves playing the role of finding these companies early, and kind of helping them grow based, just because of how much work we've done in the space, helping them kind of grow around the products, the operations, and with the technical support of the technical backing of Stella, the Stella Foundation itself, all the engineering resources, all the educational resources. So bringing that, and merging it with our own experience and helping these founders, and then preparing them to like go ahead to raise from the bigger funds.
All right. Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, right? And I hear you on maybe kind of the skepticism you had initially about what crypto really is and the use case, right? And I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But I think what I would just want to ask now is that, so maybe based on your work with Stella, right? Do you now have as a firm, that does DFS Lab now have a blockchain / crypto kind of thesis?
Yeah, so that's actually that's something I'm currently working on. Like, I know it's stuff I'm thinking about, and generally, even for like our main fund, we've kind of like taken like an evolving approach to our thesis. So it's not stuff that is set in stone. It's like as we continue to work in the space and we continue to learn more things, we kind of evolve like our thesis. And we're basically doing the same for the crypto fund. We have, I'd say like we have like ideas, of what we want this to be and what we want it to be focused on. But again, it's still evolving and we're still trying to like piece it together. But I think the closest thing will be that almost like our tradition, like our main fund, right? We think that there's an opportunity for crypto to serve like a much larger slice of the market, right? As opposed to almost like the 1% that currently reaches now. Like what kind of crypto solutions are able to impact the lives of like the everyday people, if it's some kind of smart contract solution that makes things faster, for maybe on the credit side, on the insurance side, or maybe some kind of cross-border agent network, right? That makes it easy for someone to send money from, you know, somewhere to an agent in the village, and like someone can go and, like a relative can go and get it. Like those kind of use cases where there's like a wider like range of impact, right? Um, so most of our thinking is around that. It's evolving, and we're trying to like kind of put it put it together into something that we can share. But it's still early days, right? So and as we continue to learn and we continue to speak to lots of startups, then it helps like with the formulation of like thesis.
Right. Yeah. So what I hear you say is you're obviously looking more, and I can't, and it would make sense given that the kind of the focus of your main fund, which is around fintech, e-commerce, logistics, right? And then you probably are looking for things that are like similar as well in the crypto space, especially in the fintech area. And where we're speaking specifically about the
Yeah.
Stellar, your partnership with Stellar, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. Great. So,
Yeah. Um,
uh,
yeah.
okay, okay, I hear you there. So what would then, and then also, it sounds like you're more interested in like that those kind of traditional fintech use cases, right, versus just the exchange play that kind of dominates the market right now. Is that true? Is that correct?
Yeah. Obviously. Yeah. Obviously. We. If we thought that it was, if we felt like it was just going to be like an exchange thing, then there's no point. Like we'll now, decide to, kind of put together the fund. The reason why we thought like this made sense was because we're seeing use cases that went beyond that, right? If it's again making payments easier, um, making agreements easier, um, if it's making things on the supply chain, more trustworthy and cheaper to keep track of or things like that, then yes. So yeah, right. Like there's no difference. Like we won't be making any real difference if we're just coming and doing the same thing, and like investing in the same type of companies.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And but do you kind of have like existing uh, blockchain kind of or crypto portfolio companies, either in partnership with Stellar or just DFS Lab?
Um, no, so like see, we've not we had not invested in any prior to this, and
Oh, okay.
we are still, I would say we're still in the early stages of the fund, right? One of, I think the one investment that was announced is the last raise by Payday, um, which we were part of because there we saw an opportunity for the cross-border play, right? And
Which
Stella
company is
being
that?
key part of that. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Sorry, which company? I didn't hear the company you mentioned.
Oh, Payday.
Oh,
So
okay.
Payday, yeah, like Payday. The investment led by Money Point, right?
Yeah.
We were also part of that round because it's like again there was a clear opportunity there for how crypto can play a role. And you know one thing that I like to point out is some of the best use cases of crypto, might be those that you like the customer doesn't even know that there's crypto in play, right? Um, it's stuff that's happening on the background. And just crypto, like but the blockchain generally, right? It's stuff that is happening on the background. It's abstracted from the customer, but it's making things more efficient. It's making things cheaper, um, and so those kind of those kind of plays, like we find those interesting. So that's like the one announcement that has come out of that. In the coming weeks and months, there'll be more announcements um, of our investments in that space.
All right, great. It's interesting that you mentioned Payday, right? I mean, I've had like different conversations with different players in the space, and I mean, and the understanding was that Payday was like looking to, integrate some sort of crypto-based application to make things more efficient. I have no idea how that would play out, right? But it's interesting, and I don't think this part was kind of public in the announcement they made, right? I think the focus was more on like money points being kind of leading the round, right? So just curious, and I also agree with you when you say, the whole concept of crypto and blockchain should be, or the best case would be that it's abstracted from the user. They just experience the efficiency it brings. So is Payday right now? Do they have like any kind of crypto or blockchain layer in the product, or did you invest in expectation that they will?
Yeah, so it's more about investing in the future roadmap, right? And so one of the key parts of of the Stellar protocol is like the use of anchors, and like for on ramping and off ramping crypto to fiat, fiat to crypto, um in a way that Stellar has institutional partners, right? That makes this easier, right? So you don't have to be doing this outside of the bounds of regulation, or you're not doing it in a compliance manner, right? And that's one of the things that is baked in. And so, um, obviously, that's like for a startup that's powering a lot of cross-border transactions and cross-border payments. It only makes sense that that'll be something they're looking to do, and trying to find more efficient ways than what you have, like the system that is currently in place. So yeah, it's more of like a um, kind of like future roadmap type thing.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, and thanks for like, mentioning that. I think it's really interesting to learn. I will keep monitor that and then see how that evolves. Yeah, wish them good luck on that. Just to maybe then talk a little bit about the fund now, right? So just out of curiosity, this investment you made in in Payday, is it part of this fund, this new fund?
Yeah. It was a DFS Lab Stellar fund, like that. It was out
All
of
right.
that fund.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like the information about the size of the fund is public. Do you mind sharing?
Not really, not really. Well, we're not really publicizing the size of the fund, but mainly because it's almost like it's, it's an evolving partnership, if I'm to put it that way, right? And so, I can tell you like a number now, but tomorrow that number has gone up because we've had like we've made some progress, we've had some success or something like that. So it's not it's not a number we're sharing, but um, it's a it's a good amount that we can make a couple of investments.
Yeah, and you don't even want to give me like a base number.
I think if we're going to talk about that number, it would have been in the announcement. Like what? But I guess I
Uh,
think it's just like it's just a it's a what do you call it? It's a decision to just keep it like um confidential between both partners.
all right, okay, that makes sense. But also we see here that I think that the funding looks to like invest up to like 1,000, $100,000 initially, right? Is that
Hmm.
correct? That's the
Yeah.
information. Yeah. So is that like the minimum, or
Yeah.
like that's kind of the cap right now?
And that's going to be like an average, right? We we understand that there are probably companies that will find, right, that can't take up, up to that amount, maybe because they've almost filled up their allocation or whatever, like for that to raise or something. But on the average, like that'll be the size of the check, like $100,000.
Yeah. Okay. And just to be clear, right, this is actual VC money, not grants. Yeah.
Oh no, no, it's not it's not a grant. It's actual like a VC. It's actual like equity investment.
All right. Okay. Yeah, because I know that Stella Foundation, like they have like this big grants program and all of that. So it's so that's part of why I really asked.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think this has been
yeah,
interesting, and I think you are Stephen Deng. I think that's the partner. I don't know if I hope I pronounced that name correctly. He said something. We are open to various
yeah.
use cases, but we'll be especially interested in those solving for fiat to crypto RAM and those building cross-border payments for the continent. And I think that is especially the latter part of what I just read. That's where Payday kind of companies
Hmm.
fall into, right? But it seems like
Yeah.
obviously developing on the Stellar network is kind of a requirement for it's a hard requirement for this to be invested in this round in this fund. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's the nature of this. And again, it's it's hard to miss how how important it is that Stella has all these like resources, right? If we feel that, and that's why we chose them, like that's why we're working with them as a partner, right? We feel that they have a robust enough ecosystem, right, for the particular use cases we're looking at, or like even any ones that might come up in the future. Um, they kind of have like a robust ecosystem to be able to support that, right? And we want to invest in companies that take advantage of that, right? So um, it's a it's a key requirement that you're building um, on on the Stellar platform.
All right. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, just I mean, I think that kind of covers everything that I wanted to like talk about. Just except if there's, but maybe one other thing that I would just want to know is this, right? Because there's a lot of conversation right now, and we are struggling. And I think we've seen a couple of announcements recently, and I think we started seeing that from like last year. Crypto companies trying to like use crypto for cross-border payments. I know BitNob, that's a Bitcoin company, partnered with Strike in US, and I thought the user experience of that kind of that would have been great or is great, right? Because the person in the mid or the person sending money doesn't even need to touch Bitcoin; they just need to like transfer dollars, and then they but these things are like struggle. It feels like they are struggling to pick up. I know it also takes time, right? Sorry, it takes time, but
Hmm.
I mean, the data that I can see from just research and it's not looking like these things are picking up, right? And just recently, Block, that's Jack Doss's company, partnered with Yellow Card as well. Yellow Card, yeah, for cross-border payments and remittances. So, is there a reason why? And I think that just the way crypto is, it was always easy to just use it for remittance, right, or for cross-border payments, and it's just like really failed to pick up. I don't know if that is something that you are looking into as a company and see what can be done to make it more make that adoption faster in that front. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I get you. Well, that's I think that's why we're looking for that's why we're looking for founders, right? That can that can properly abstract it. Like so, the thing is, um, with crypto adoption, there's almost like a there's like a there's some kind of like educational barrier, if I'm to put it that. Like there's some kind of um, like knowledge hoops you have to jump through, right? Um, and I think what lots of people in this space are trying to do is like try to figure out how to kind of reduce those barriers and do a lot of abstraction. And I think that you know that's how it's going to continue to be, like people looking for how to abstract so you don't have to like put this extra barrier in front of like the user, and they have to learn how to do this or learn how to do that. Like if you speak to someone you know who has tried to use any of the exchanges to like move money or things like that, one of the first things they talk about is like the confusion, the initial confusion of what's going on, right? um but then if you abstract that and put it behind like a very like intuitive interface, which is where the hard work is, right? Then it becomes like much easier, right? So um I think like that companies that are trying to do that, and many more will will spring up and people will figure things out. But I it's almost the same thing. It used to be like that for for just normal electronic transfers, right? It used to be like it wasn't as straightforward as it is now. Like you'd have to maybe go to one website, open a form, to like fill in this, fill in that, wait for like a few minutes, all that kind of stuff. But right now, people make you know electronic transfers like it's nothing. You know, it's the same thing with online payments. It's so easy to make an online payment now. There's like a lot of abstraction that has happened. Um, you know, Even the process of getting of authenticating, right, is not as cumbersome as it used to be. So like, I think all these things will get simpler over time. Um, and we just need to be there to find the right founders at the right time, building things like this, and coming in early.
All right, yeah, and just based on what you just said now, I mean, just maybe your personal prediction. Do you think what would drive kind of crypto adoption is the Payday kind of platform where the users are just using it for their everyday life, so they really don't know that crypto is even happening behind it? So let's say your traditional fintech company, right? Do you think there will be more the bigger driver, or do you think maybe it's just like traditional crypto guys or just crypto guys who actually just elevate that user experience?
So I don't think like it's one or the other. Like I think all of them will be important. But I think like like with as with anything that gains mass adoption, right? The one with the more intuitive interface, like the one that's simpler to interact with, kind of like wins. Um, but then there are other use cases. Like for example, if you're really trading, then you want something more complicated or complex. Like I won't say complicated, but something a lot more complex. Um, but then and they're just like this wide range of like wide range of use cases. So the way I'll look at it is um, trading on Robinhood and trading on the Bloomberg terminal, right? Like two different experiences. You're basically basically fundamentally doing the same thing, but one person is doing it at a much higher level and has someone servicing that need, and someone is doing it at a much lower level and has someone servicing that need. So I think like there'll be it's not there'll be popular popular platforms out there. Of course, the popular ones will be the more intuitive ones, but there's also always going to be like a use case for like any of these platforms.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I guess we'll wait to time will tell. We have to wait and see. Yeah. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much, Joseph, for talking to me today. It's been a great conversation, and I wish you all the best with the new fund. Right. And I hope to speak to you
Yeah.
again soon. right? And then hopefully sometime when you get a couple million of dollars of this fund.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for the time. Sure.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Have a good one.